man speaking in the city square, trying to tell somebody that he cares. Can you blame the voice of youth for asking what is true? Yeah, the ones that you're calling wild are gonna be the leaders in a little while. When will the lonely voice of youth cry, what is true? This our world's waking to a newborn babe, and I solemnly swear it'll be their way. You better help that voice of youth find what is true. And the lonely voice of youth cries, what is true?
All right. Welcome, everybody. It is another Pirate live stream. And I have my Sam Pell. It's right here. It's very good. And I have a bunch in my Muppet Cup. Have you considered? Very important consideration. And I've got some tea from the Table Rock Tea Company. And this is the Mahala Masala chai. So technically it's not tea, but it's close enough. It's good chai. It's very good stuff. These are my buddies at Table Rock Tea. Good, nice wooden containers for the tea. This one's empty, so I'll have to drive up there and get some more. I might as well buy it in person since it's only 3 hours. It's beautiful. It's in the mountains. So I'm 3 hours from the mountains, 3 hours from the ocean. Well, 2 hours from the ocean, but whatever. Probably 3 hours from a good beach. So yeah, we're good to go here. I'm still recovering from my cold. I couldn't talk for 3 days last week, which I'm sure not being able to talk for 3 days was frustrating for me, but everybody around me was super happy about it. So you win some, you lose some. But my voice seems okay. I had to do a talk this morning, so a short one, just a quick proposal talk. But I seem to be back on track. So that's good because then we can talk about redemption. And man, like just every week, past 2 hours or 3 hours or something more about this. It's just, you know, it just keeps coming up. And I mean, there's so much stuff now in the news, right? And this redemption theme is everywhere. This is a pattern that is absolutely everywhere right now. Just everyone's trying to redeem absolutely everything constantly. And there's all sorts of weird stuff that you kind of notice. I mean, I noticed so many things I couldn't even stop to write them down, in the middle of the day. So I try to remember them and put them in notes and incorporate them where appropriate into live streams. And I have pages and pages of notes I need to go through one of these days. This was a bad week for that. But one of the things that you can look out for is if the first thing someone does when a proposition is made or in the initial conversation and somebody says something is to oppose them, then that's rebellion, right? They're just a rebellious soul, and that's what they do, and they probably can't help themselves, right? Because we're not rational creatures, and that's part of the problem, right? And they're always trying to find what's wrong instead of cooperating first, right? It's a perfect tell for bad faith. And look, again, the bad faith might not be optional, guys. Not everybody can be in good faith. Like you can't decide that, right? You can try maybe, but maybe you suck and you can't do it because you're a Muppet. I don't know, but I see this all the time. I see it constantly, right? Just because you want to be in good faith doesn't mean you can, right? We don't know what we're up to. or what our constraints are, what our limitations are. We don't know. And so, you can be upset about Trump tweeting out, boy, this looks awful suspicious to me. Looks kind of deliberate. Um, but it did to every other human being too who was honest with themselves. So being skeptical about that means you're the problem. No, you are the actual problem, right? And I'll get into how you can tell. And you can't. That's the thing. Like you can. Everybody gets upset. I'm like, no, no. You can actually tell really easily. It takes 2 seconds. It's just nobody likes that answer, so they just I don't want to believe someone's bad, right? So they try to redeem them right away. And look, just an easy tip to know if somebody is certainly lying, right? People very, very often nowadays claim kind of directly that they know something there's no way that they have the access to at all, right? They should have done X in private, but you can't know that. You're not there in private. How would you know that they didn't handle it that way in private? You don't. You're automatically lying, whether you want to or not. Like you don't know. Like you can't know. You're not there. You've already lied. It already happened. I'm sorry. You shouldn't have done that. Right? You're so anxious to redeem people that you just assume that things weren't done right because a bad result happened. And this is the problem with presuming redemption or trying to put it on people. And another way, like if you talk about something technical that is like deliberate, you should know something, right? Or do any non-zero amount of research on it first, right? Before you speak up about it. You shouldn't say, no, I don't know why people are saying this is a deliberate act. Because there are certain realities. Like I know a couple pilots, by the way. Like it's not actually, or you could do like 10 minutes of internet research, like really 10, and figure out, oh yeah, this is fishy. This is very suspicious. Flight paths don't cross in 3 dimensions. Occasionally cross in 2, but they even avoid that. Yes. Then why were things crossed? It's a good question, right? These are not invalid questions. And automatically moving to conspiracy or you don't know that. No, 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 no. You do know when something's obvious. You do know when something's suspicious. You absolutely do. You might be mistaken because you could be mistaken about literally anything. But you do know. It's a big problem, right? People aren't doing any research at all. They're doing zero. They're just speaking up as though they have a clue when clearly they don't. I mean, I talk about this all the time, right? All these people talking about Buddhism. I'm like, do you know anybody from Asia at all? Have you talked to them about this? You couldn't have, because they would tell you you're wrong immediately. Immediately. You can look it up on the internet and get the wrong answer. I get that. Well, you're not going to talk to somebody from there and they're going to give you the right answer. It's not going to happen. Sorry. So you know when these people are wrong, and that's a form of arrogance. And the thing is, well, it's a deliberate act. Couldn't have been a bad actor, right? So we just don't have all the facts. It's like, oh look, Nala, the porn prostitute, is back, right? Redeemed by Michael Knowles. Dude, she's playing the same game on a different platform. That's it. Nothing changed with her at all. You just found a different platform to play on and do the same pattern. Lily Phillips, it's not her fault. It's the 100 bad men. Well, it can't be 100 men. That doesn't make any sense. There'll be 100 more lined up after them. What are you saying? That she doesn't have control over herself? Yeah, she doesn't. Like, hello? And you want to redeem her by making it the men's problem? for agreeing to her proposal? It's like, "Oh, why are you trying to redeem this woman? Why can't you just admit she's a horrible human being? Her parents are horrible for letting her be one." And that's the problem. Patriarchy confirmed. Yeah, men should stop women from bad behavior. Okay, sure. I mean, that's your proposal, not mine, but like, yes. And this is a hard issue. Let's imagine in our fantasy world that it's all not real. That so we don't have to resolve it. Maybe the Lily Phillips thing, what if you found out it wasn't real? What difference would that make? It doesn't make any difference at all. It's a real issue somewhere in the world, right? But if we pretend it could have been an imaginal event or whatever, then we don't have to resolve it anymore. And these are all forms of redemption. That's what they are. They're forms of redemption. Well, what is redemption? The action of saving or being saved from sin, error, or evil. That's like straight out of the dictionary, guys. Right? This isn't hard. Do your research. I mean, I did it for you because partly why we're here. That's what it is. So, what exactly is going on? Why, when faced with bad behavior publicly, are people making excuses for people they don't even know, or people they know but don't know that well, or people they know but like they're not near them, like they don't know what's actually going on. All they have is the word of their friend, or worse yet, the word of the person whose orbit they're in. Hmm, that's dangerous. I mean, why is any hint of deliberate action met with some fantastical story about how that obvious deliberative negative action is somehow some random exception to the rules because of some ridiculous outlier set of circumstances that never happen in the real world? I mean, yeah, maybe they could, but maybe they can't. I don't even know because I've never seen them. And it's because they don't want to be bad, sinful, unconfessed, unrepentant, unpenitent people. They don't want those in the world because they know that's them. Every time somebody makes an excuse for a prostitute, I'm like, you either slept with one or you're thinking of sleeping with one. Sorry. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, that's the first place my mind goes. And look, these people know they're guilty of these things and more, worse. They know that they're unconfessed, that they're unrepentant, that they're unpenitent. They know this. That's why they redeem everybody else. It's a win for them. It's a win for them. So they project psychologically. That's what they do. That's what we do. People do this. They project psychologically. People keep blaming institutions instead of people, right? Because they don't want to be bad either. It's materialism at its best. Oh, it's the phone, it's the OnlyFans, the existence of OnlyFans. It's it's all the social pressure. No, it's you. It's your weakness, your irresponsibility, your unwillingness to struggle. That's what it is. If it's materialism's fault, we don't have to change. There's nothing we can do anyway. There's no need to be better or to have to use others to help us be better because you can't be better by yourself. right? You don't even see yourself clearly. This is all about me, me, and more me, to quote the second Matrix movie. You see, this behavior is not about the other person and what they did or didn't do. It's not about that at all. It's about that person making the excuse. That's what it's about. And their projection on the world. Well, I don't want the world to be the way it is. So I'm going to place the blame on something else. It can't be the fault of people because I'm a people. And if people can be at fault for this stuff, then maybe I'm responsible too. And then I'd have to do all this stuff like confess. And maybe I don't have a proper confession. Maybe there's only public confession. Well, that's even worse. Suffering from way too much public confession, which doesn't work reliably. This was the whole battle over cancel culture. Don't apologize. They don't care. Right. You apologize and they just go after you more because public confession is evil. Sorry, don't do it. If it's all about me, there's no reason to be better. It's just you and materialism. And that's what we're suffering from. And that's why people are continually trying to redeem everybody, even people they don't know and have never met and will never meet. Why? Why are you trying to redeem these people? They're out in public doing bad things. Why can't we just say, hey, you know what? You're out in public doing bad things. Cut it out and not defend them. I don't get it. You're putting all your time, energy, and attention into defending bad behavior now. Why are you doing this? You're a lunatic. And with that potential insight, hopefully, let's first examine a concept that I suspect is related and much misunderstood: forgiveness. To forgive is to stop feeling angry or resentful towards someone for an offense, a flaw, or a mistake. Another standard definition out of the dictionary. How useful. If only everybody had access to a dictionary from a handheld device or at any computer hooked up to the internet. Wouldn't that be amazing? Yeah, they told us it would be. But you know what? Everything has since gotten worse. That might have been a hint. Now, doing something like this does nothing for the other person. Zero. It only does something for you. And the thing is, people all the time with forgiveness tell other people they need to forgive. And invariably, what happens when people do that with me is I say, forgive them for what? And almost every time they don't have an answer. And I'm puzzled because I'm like, what did you think I hadn't forgiven them for? Because there's really only a couple possibilities, right? One is they transgressed and I didn't notice. That happens all the time because a lot of things that other people get upset about, I really don't give two craps about. Doesn't matter to me at all. I don't even register it. The other possibility, I already forgave them. But of course, that person doesn't know that. Like, forgiveness is not something you are supposed to tell other people to do. It's something you are supposed to do for yourself, by yourself. I mean, I'm not saying don't ever tell somebody you need to forgive that person, but like at least find some resentment first, right? Don't try to use it as a cudgel to get someone's behavior to change because you don't like the way they're treating somebody else. Maybe that other person deserves to be treated that way. We throw people in prison, you know. We do it for a good reason in most cases. Like, it's not like this is a foreign concept to our brains. We may be misapplying it. Hmm. Hmm. Now, making you sort of better towards everybody else because you've forgiven them, and thus released the burden of them living rent free in your head, um, might be better for the person who transgressed as well, right? But that's a side effect of forgiveness. It's not the thing that forgiveness does, because forgiveness does not do that, right? If somebody every time they see you screams at you and you forgive them each time, nothing's changed except you get to let go of your anger and resentment. Nothing changed for them, right? It doesn't necessarily change anything except for you, which is good. And maybe that makes you better to be around all the time. But your forgiveness may have no effect on the other person. In fact, most often it will not have any effect on them, especially if you forgive them and reset your behavior such that they are not punished or there's no signal to them that their previous behavior was bad. Like that makes everything worse. Don't do that. Don't tolerate bad behavior from anybody, especially not yourself. But the idea that the person transgressed gets something out of it, that's a side effect. It's not an intentional act. And it requires relationship to function in the way that forgiveness is being used. In other words, if you forgive somebody and you really forgive them and their behavior changes, and then you have an interaction, then that forgiveness benefits them potentially. Maybe not. Maybe you're working out in the moment because that happens too. Like this forgiveness thing is way overweighted in our heads as being something that changes the world when it doesn't. It just changes you, and that's good. You need to be better, right? Sometimes though, forgiving people for repeated bad behavior is making it worse because it turns you into an enabler. So forgiveness is not a goodness. And that's the problem. Like, just FYI, I know some people claim to have read the Bible. I think they did so selectively, if in fact they had the reading comprehension level to understand any of it. You're not called to forgive everybody. Nope. That's no, that's actually not in there. Sorry. Uh, Nor are all things forgivable. And that is in there. There are unforgivable sins. Sorry. I don't know what you may have read or thought you read or heard or whatever. Sorry, like, not there. Explicitly not there, right? Like, definitely not. And I think because people adopt this forgiveness attitude where I tell you to forgive, that changes the world. They're applying that same principle, that same pattern to redemption, right? Because if your forgiveness has the power to change the behavior of somebody else, redemption also has that power. And since you seem to think you can tell somebody to forgive and that will cause them to forgive, and that power will be transmitted from you to them, to that other person, well, you should be able to do that with redemption. Only that's more direct. Like I can just redeem that. I can redeem Calvin Robinson for his third strike, you're out, buddy, in my opinion, behavior. It's not a one off. You don't judge people one off. Like Elon Musk does something once, whatever, right? Call me when he's leading troops. Maybe I'll get slightly alarmed. I doubt it. Three times, buddy. Three times. And now we got a pattern. No. Smirk and think you're clever. You're not clever. You also have to be responsible, and you're not being responsible. I'm not going to try to redeem you anyway because I can't. It's not my job. So again, I think people have taken their misconception of what forgiveness is, how it works, and what it does. And they're using that newfound power that they think they have to do zero work and fix the world, to upgrade to redemption, skipping right over the hard parts of confession, repentance, and penance. It's not a free ride, guy. You did something. You gotta fix it. Otherwise, it stays there and gets worse. Just entropy, time. It's the way things are. I didn't make it. Don't bitch to me. And after all, if forgiveness works the way people seem to think, they are very powerful people indeed, able to change others. And now, the small upgrade, they can save others as well. Why not skip steps? The world is smaller and simpler, and now within your understanding, you can understand a world that small for sure. Our knowledge, personal knowledge. I know who needs to be forgiven and who needs to forgive them. And I know that will change their life. Now they have it. I know what redemption is because I've been redeemed. Bold claim. Better reading comprehension, for sure. And now I can give it to other people. I can do that to other people. I can redeem them. And there's no need for anything else. I'm knowledgeable. There's no need for action in the world. I can just tell you. Talking involves action, but it is not an action. And if you have that power, if you can forgive and you can redeem, you have to use it. You have to impose it upon the world. Other people telling me to forgive people is insane. I'm not saying never, but like, what do you know? You don't know if I'm angry and resentful towards them. You have no idea. You may think you know. And that's the problem. People think they know. You don't know. These lessons are there for you. They're not there for you to try to enact in others. It's not your role, man. And the thing is, you cannot redeem the unrepentant. You should not even be trying. That isn't your job. It isn't within your purview. It isn't something you have the power, authority, ability, or responsibility to do. You're not a redeemer. That's not what you are. It- It's not your role. It's not your job. It's not your thing. You can do it if you wanted to. With the side effect of believing you have knowledge. Maybe you think you read a book and you probably read it poorly. And you think you know what happened with a helicopter and airplane, and you don't even know any pilots. You haven't even run Flight Simulator. What do you know? Never looked it up online. 10 minutes. Oh, yeah, that is weird. Yeah, that's pretty weird. You think you know what happened behind closed doors in private between a person and the institution in charge of them? You weren't there. Why would you think you would know that? Well, they clearly handled it incorrectly because there was a bad result. No, the bad result was caused by the person behaving badly. That's why the bad result existed. I saw sin in the world. I must redeem it. Why don't you acknowledge the damn sin first and like work with the person? Because they have to do it, not you. You doing it ain't going to do nothing. And now you think you can redeem? You think that's the way to redemption is just by making excuses for other people's bad behavior? Because that's what's happening. It's happening all over the place. I feel bad for Michael Knowles. I mean, I think that the Daily Wire is in a lot of trouble because, man, they are like going out of their way to make mistakes. It's like, guys, you're like the kings of the unforced error. I was on their side with Crowder, but after that, it's kind of like, man, everything you guys are doing is a huge mistake. I don't know why. I don't know why you're doubling down on the errors. Unforced errors are bad. But look, How do we get here? How do we get to the point where all these people are trying to be redeemers for sin, for bad behavior, for obvious like things that people are doing that are wrong? And it's like you in your head are the self-transcendent being that has this power, this ability, this responsibility to wield your knowledge to find a way to redeem so that you can fix the world instead of, I don't know, fixing yourself or your family or your community or even just the material around you. Like, clean your room. Why don't we start there? Okay. Instead of making excuses for people doing bad things that there's no cause for them to do, that it's completely irresponsible. This is narcissism. It's a complete unawareness of self in that you don't know where you are in the world. You're in domicile, whether you realize it or not. It's arrogance of the highest order. Oh, I know what happened behind closed doors between Calvin Robinson and his church. No, you don't. No, you don't. You weren't there. You have no idea at all. It's not even possible that you would have an idea. Why would you make a claim like that? It makes you seem like the most narcissistic, arrogant jerk that ever walked the earth. And the problem is, there seems to be a competition for this. Everyone's competing. How much of a narcissistic, arrogant jerk can I seem like? Oh my goodness. It's a complete break in reality. I mean, you're completely apart from reality. You were born into a creation with nature and others already there, and new ones coming in and some leaving. You're not the forgiver of things. You're not the redeemer of people or the world or situations. You're not. You can use your quote logic, reason, and rationality, and you're probably terrible at it, by the way, just like almost everybody that's using it is. Just so disgusting. Uh, to come up with an excuse, you can imagine in your fantasy land, because your head's full of freaking lies, uh, a way to make this okay, right? But that's not the world we're in. Yeah, it could be that space aliens possessed his mind and made him do a Nazi salute, or that there was a gravity anomaly due to a comet 10 light years away that pulled the helicopter way out of where it should be and made all the instruments lie to it and deafened the pilots so they couldn't hear a jet plane. It could be, I guess. Like, shut up. You're retarded. Like, piss off. Why are you doing this to yourself? You look like a moron. You're not authoritative. You're not going to redeem these situations. Someone did something wrong. Let's find out who and punish them publicly. How's that? They did a public thing. They need a public punishment. It's not that hard. Like, it's really not that. Oh, we like equality unless it's equal punishment for equal crime. Well, then we don't like equality at all. Oh, weird. That's weird. It's very strange. But this is the world we're living in. We're practically drowning in this garbage. I don't know why. It's driving me a little nuts, to be honest. Like, why are we drowning in this particular garbage? That's a bit strange. Anyway, that's what I got. Whoops. I'm gonna read some comments if I can click on the right windows. Ixnon, good luck. Stop being sick. Thanks. Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying. Sally Joe, get a glass of milk ready for the spiciness. Thanks, Sally. Dawn does not have a glass of milk, but there's milk in her tea. Oh well, yeah, that's close enough. Fractal versus fractal. Still can't believe it happened. I don't know what you're referring to, Yonka. Yes, the world is in fact fractal. Dawn, maybe it's because Mark's reading the chat with one eye. Yes. Don does have the best takes. Can confirm. Young God. I hear it's 1,000. Well, that's a different. It turns out there's two OnlyFans stars competing for this idea of sleeping with men. Bonnie Blue is accusing Lily Phillips of copying her. I think she did 1,000-person gangbang or whatever they call it. Disgusting. A young God. To be redeemed, you have to be deemed first. Yeah, well, that's true too. What happened to make you lose your first deeming? You have to judge somebody, right? And then judge them again, right? Yeah, it's a reasonable point. Sometimes I listen to these monologues and they seem so meta because it describes itself. I don't know about that. Analogical logic is, yeah, sure. Ixnay, confess and repent. See the end of C.S. Lewis. Till we have faces. Man, there's a lot of C.S. Lewis stuff about. Not particularly a fan, but yawn God. But if I let others live rent free in my head, does that make me a good landlord for my imaginary tenant? I don't know. You'll have to ask your imaginary tenant if you're a good landlord for letting them live rent free in your head. It's a good question, though. Sally Joe. Utterly letting the unrepentant off the hook is off the hook to detriment of society is bad. No, right. Exactly. Let people off the hook. Now, God, just be aware of the false repenters. They may not be false repenters. It may be like a drug addict that you can repent and still have the behavior. Repentance is not solving a problem in this world, in the here and now. Everybody's confused about that. That's the answer everyone's looking for. They're just looking in the wrong place. Solving things in the here and now is very easy. It's just nobody likes the answer. Yeah, you have to do things in the world like cut people off and throw them in jail. And maybe painfotainment is correct by hardcore history. Go listen to that if you can stomach it. It's actually quite good. Maybe they had it right. Sally Joe, almost like words don't matter and actions are a better language. Almost, Sally. Almost. A young God. It's supposed to be your pleasure, not your job, but only if you are an emotional masochist. Oh, it's not. They've ensorcelled themselves. Yeah, a lot of people have ensorcelled themselves. I mean, they really are throwing around judgments about situations that they don't have any information on. Couldn't possibly have any information. This. I haven't been able to do the video yet. I keep getting on the verge of figuring out how to describe this in a way I think anybody will understand. Because at some point it's just too obvious, and I'm like, I don't understand why people don't see this. But there's a huge, whopping difference between something you could know and then making a claim based on that, and something you have no chance of knowing and making a claim based on that. It's not the same thing. It looks the same because it's still a false claim, right? But there's a big difference, and then there's a big difference between that and something you should know and are mistaken about. Like there's lots of layers here that people don't go through. Sally, Mark's rent-free tenants have to roommate with the purple unicorn. Yes, the purple unicorn talks to them. It's very upsetting. Young God, I personally think reading comprehension is overrated. Yes, from personal experience. It really is. Burn all the books. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why we're reading all these stupid books anyway. People don't understand any of them. They don't even get Plato's Cave. They lie about the end of the Republic. See my videos. It's awful. Young God, I love Google Earth Flight Simulator. They have one? I don't know. I can take off from LAX and Edwards in under 5 minutes. I don't know. I've never played with it. Dawn. We're in the relentless speculation phase of the plane crash. Not a good look. It depends if you're going with simple observation or if you're talking about things you don't know anything about, right? Like if somebody's saying this looks suspicious, like a car accident where you hit another car in your blind spot is not a surprise. A car accident where you T-bone a car, that's a big surprise. because it's actually very hard to T-bone a car. Very hard. Like, really rare kind of an accident for a reason, right? And when you're dealing with something that's not a car in an environment that helicopters are very loud, jets are louder, right? You're near an airport. That might be a hint, right? You're there. There's a limit to how high you should be. You weren't anywhere near it. That's a little weird. There's people telling you for sure not to be there. That's also a little weird, right? Like, it gets a little weird with observation. Simple observation, if you just bother to believe, look things up a little bit, you're like, no, no, that there's something strange going on there. Right. And the speculation is in denying those observations. And that's the problem. When you start denying observations and skipping over important points, that's how people win at lawsuits that are cut and dry. Is they just overwhelm the judges and the other lawyers with ridiculous facts that mean nothing. Yawn God. Anyone used to read those 90 books of Read Your Own Adventure? Yeah, where you get to a certain book page depending upon what you choose. Yeah. Those were popular for a while. Young God, Choose Your Own Adventure apparently is the game. Well, it is because we've been told we're smart enough to do that, right? We're in this postmodern milieu. We're in this milieu of, well, we have access to the information, and I'm kind of like, well, yeah, but you're not using that access. It's like, and the thing is, the person that knows that is the person that actually has the knowledge, right? And not the person that doesn't, but thinks they do. Like telling a stupid person they're stupid, like stupid people don't know they're stupid, right? So lazy people don't know they're lazy. On God, books written in the second person are niche. Yeah, also evil. So there's that whole thing. RJ, good to see you, my friend. Can't figure out how to burn a book titled "Inflammable Flat World Problem." Yes, yes. Um, yeah, I mean, it's so frustrating living in a world where absolutely everybody is making absolutely every excuse they can for every bad thing they see, for every bad behavior people are obviously engaged in, and just absolutely refusing debates. They're refusing discussions. They're just shutting it down left, right, and center. Now, you can say, "Hey, it's on my side now, so I don't mind that things are being shut down." But there's a proper way to do this, and there's an improper way to do this. And that's more my complaint. If you'd like to hop in, the link is out. I will pin it here to the top of navigating patterns. I can't do that with anything else. So, you know, Ixnon, overwhelming people with irrelevant facts. That's probably a pattern that can be navigated. That's called more information won't help. Ixnon, I've been working on it for a while, but things, again, I'm always confused. Like, why don't people see this? And then no one does. David, hey, how you doing, sir? Yes, I'm feeling better. I'm able to talk, although I did have a bad tumble today and a long nap. Well, not that long, but man, that whew, had about 5 minutes to get to bed. Otherwise, I was gonna be sleeping on the floor of the office. And yeah, I don't know what the hell happened. Just hit me like a freaking ton of bricks, which is weird because the weather's been nice. I don't know. I don't have any allergies to anything that I know of, so I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but have some nice masala chai. Good stuff. Good stuff. But yeah, I'm feeling better. I was able to do my talk this morning and I'm able to do this. I don't think I'm too exhausted. I am exhausted from like, it's weird. Every time I pick a topic, like examples just pop up on my Twitter feed all over the place. And I'm just like, why is Michael Knowles re-interviewing Nala? I mean, she's clearly a bad actor. Why are we trying to redeem this prostitute again? Oh, it's been a year and she hasn't gone back to prostitution. Well, she kind of is still a prostitute, just in a different platform, dude. Like you're not making a good case. And it's too bad. It's terrible that they're attacking obvious bad behavior to make it go away. It's like, no, bad behavior's in the world. Don't assault it by making excuses for it. Like, let it be there, call it out, say this person's done a bad thing or is still doing a bad thing or was always a bad person. And, continually making excuses for people and coming up with reasons and imaginary worlds where, well, it's really not that bad. It's like, no, it really is exactly what it looks like. And it's not getting better for you making excuses for it, but it is getting worse because you did that. Don't do that. Just the sheer number of people that somehow think it's their job to save other people. And, I mean, it's everyone falling down the rabbit hole of evangelicalism, for lack of a more precise term. I don't, I don't know. I don't know why. I don't understand the proclivity towards that. I don't know why you'd want to do that. You're actually making the person worse. It's like enabling a drug addict. And they're just grabbing all the drug addicts they can and giving them free needles and cheap heroin. And I'm like, could you not? Maybe maybe a little shame would be good. Maybe if you're in a collar and you do a Nazi salute after entertaining Joel Webben and doing other bad things before that, that maybe that's a hint that you're absolutely a Nazi. I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying. Like it was funny. I didn't know who Joel Webben was. I started listening to uh his little intro video on his website. And I'm like, oh, I like this. I like this. I like this. And Adam was watching me, right? So had the camera on and stuff. Adam had already listened to it before me. And he had listened to it and he had heard the middle part, right? And then I'm like, "Oh, I like everything this guy's saying so far. This is great." And then you get to the middle and he starts talking about how, effectively everything's in scripture. And I'm like, "Look, no, it's not. Did you read the book? It says it's not." I don't why do you skip over all those convenient parts? Everything is not in the book. You were kind of told that explicitly. So yeah. And then I was like, all right, burn him at the stake. I'm done with Joel Webben. Uh yeah, and he's obviously he's got other bad qualities. But it's surprising to me how quickly people will try to redeem other people. Like, oh well, that was just this and this was just that. And these other 16 incidences, and I'm like, are you sure? Like, I get one or two or people making mistakes and maybe you publicly apologize, but like when people double down and I don't know what to tell you. Like I don't understand what you're doing. It's not a lot of people try to redeem others because they are trying to be the hero of their own story. Yet it's a good point. I mean, I'm probably gonna have to go over the hero's journey at some point, how dumb it is and why everybody's just stupid about this and should probably actually read a book instead of thinking Joseph Campbell ever had anything intelligent to say. Because Joseph Campbell's an idiot. He's not even self-consistent, least logical, reasonable, and rational person ever. I don't even like what do you I don't understand. Did you read the transcripts of his conversation with Bill Moyers? Because everyone goes, well, I saw him on Bill Moyers and I thought he was great. And then I read his book and I thought it sucked. And I'm like, I did his book on audiobook a billion years ago, and I thought it was so dumb. I was like, why did anybody write anything this stupid? I don't think I finished it. But like you read his Bill Moyers interview, and it's like, I mean, no, I don't. He consulted on Star Wars and he doesn't even understand the story. I'm like, bro, like really? You consulted on the movie and you don't understand the script that your friend wrote, that you consulted on, that you read all of, and you don't get it? Really? That's rather shocking. Heroes are born, they're rare, and you ain't one of them. I suspect all stories about heroes are actually not stories, they're mythos, and that's a huge difference, right? Because you're talking about abstractions, you're not talking about a person. If you're talking about a person and their interaction with people and with nature, that's a story. If you're talking about a hero, well, you have to drag the gods in because how did they become a hero? All heroes come from the gods. This is why Batman and Superman break the world. They destroy literature through comic books. Sorry, happened. Can't help you. And the number of people that are surprised by Neil Gaiman, I'm like, did you read his stuff? A, he's not a good writer. B, he's not a good storyteller. And C, look at what he writes. Like, did you really not know? I knew. Look who likes his work. The people I knew who were like Neil Gaiman admirers were all into BDSM and drugs. All of them. All of them. I'm like, well, that's a little weird. I wonder what this guy's personal life is like if he's writing something that resonates with those kind of people to this degree. Because, like, he could do no wrong to these people. That might be a hint as to his lifestyle. I don't know. Maybe oh no, I was right about that. Never mind. Clearly not. Like, why don't people see this? I'm like, this is 0% difficult. And then it turns out, right? Like, oh, there's this big cover up network behind him. Oh, really? Oh, I'm so shocked. Everybody was trying to redeem his behavior and pay people off. Money papers over a bunch of sins. You know what? There was something in the past about the church and money sort of papering over sins, and people were like buying their way out of sin or something. Huh. Huh. But we got rid of all that. Right? Oh no, Luther's an idiot. Never mind. He's just stupid. What a fucking dumbass. No, we're gonna get rid of it. Sally Joe. Heroes get people killed. Yeah, also. Yeah, all hero stories are tragedies, right? Like, heroes do not live good lives. Everyone's like, I want to be a hero. I'm like, heroes live horrible lives. Like, what literature are you reading, bro? Comic books, not anti-literature. Yawn God. So, Mark, I have a friend who has dyslexia. I have dyslexia too. I want to make them understand that they're occasionally misreading. That's, yeah, whatever. Is that feeling the wanting to make an attempt to redeem? Should I reconsider? Look, redemption is making an excuse for someone's behavior. It's not trying to work with them to make them better. Like, you should work with people to make them better, right? How you do that is the difference, right? If I know Calvin Robinson, then I don't go on a public stream and start defending him before I've talked to him about what happened to him. Because that's arrogant and foolish and makes me look like a narcissistic psychopath. So I wouldn't do that. If I don't know Calvin Robinson, I don't defend him at all because he doesn't need my defense. And if he does, he's screwed because I can't defend other people's behavior, especially not people that I don't know. It's not appropriate. Now, if Sally comes to me and says, Elon Musk did a Nazi salute and I don't like him, I can work with her to make her understand it's not a Nazi salute. Letting the Nazis own something. They're all dead, by the way. I don't know who didn't get the news, but apparently lots of people. The fascists are gone. Like, at least those fascists are gone. The fascists that appropriated that are gone. The fascists today have appropriated a bunch of other things that you don't seem to care about, by the way. So you're caring about fascism is awful, mysterious. I can work with her and explain to her things, right? And say, People make mistakes, right? One action is not an indication. Three is though, because I'm a baseball guy. So three strikes, you're out. Calvin Robinson has three strikes. He's out. It's not that hard, right? Three can very well indicate a pattern, at least enough that I'm 90% correct. And I don't want to be 100% correct. I have no interest. 90% correct is sufficient because it's the right balance between resource allocation and being wrong 10% of the time. I'm okay with that. I'll take the 90% resources I save and spend them on something more important. So there's nothing wrong with working with people, right? And that's the thing. Like you have to tell people when they're going astray, but you also have to know that telling people they're going astray is not going to help that much necessarily. Sometimes it will. That's why you try, right? But you shouldn't, you know, it's very, very hard to get people to realize, oh, you've misunderstood Plato's cave. To be fair, the last time I did it, it worked. At least one person went back, read the book, or read the first part of book seven's first 4 pages or something, right? And came back and said, "Oh my God, you're right." And I said, "Oh, thank you." It was all outlined in my video with all the references you needed, but you did the work. Congratulations, right? And then I further engaged with him, and then he probably went and jumped off the highest bridge because he seemed really concerned about a very simple minor error in reading. Other people that saw that tweet did not, however, engage and reread it and re-understand it. I did what I could, but I'm not making excuses for them, right? Like those people are not in the camp of good people because a good person would engage. And if you don't engage, you're not a good person. It's fine. Like I'm not mad. Like whatever. I don't care. You can come back and engage later and redeem yourself. Like I don't, whatever. And I'm not. It's not a big deal. Like everyone gets all upset, right? That, oh my God. And whatever, man. Most things are neutral. It'll be fine. Everything cannot be put in the bucket of good and bad. Sally Joe, yeah, you are not the only person who has been misread. Yeah. There you go. You can actually just join live or Discord and get out with it. Yeah. Well, there you go. Uh Sally Joe, it's not about me though. I just noticed. It's the burden of noticing. Look, noticing is only goes so far. I, I, a lot of people think that precision matters, and precision is actually not that important. So that's not the exact word used. That often doesn't make any difference at all. And that's the problem. That's the problem. Yeah, I mean, if you want to correct something, take an action. Yapping at people ain't gonna do it. And you have to find the relevance, right? And you have to know which battles to fight because some battles, even if you win, you lose. It's called a Pyrrhic victory. The Greeks are familiar with this. You won, but you lost. Well done, right? And that's the problem. There's a cost to engagement, so you have to engage carefully, right? And so people get upset at me sometimes. They're like, "Why don't you try to help that person?" I'm like, wasting my time. And they're all upset. They're like, "Well, you helped me," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, but you weren't a waste of my time." People go completely cray cray. Young God, it's so meta. Meta is a bad word and doesn't mean anything. It's an identification against, and you're speaking nonsense. Sally Joe, don't tell me when to be upset, Mark. I'll be upset when I want to. I'm a woman again since attack helicopters are no longer available as a gen. That's right. You're forced to have female feelings now because you can't be an attack helicopter anymore. I like Chevron, the oil company, announced that since the federal government was going to call it the Gulf of America, that God damn it, they were too. I was like, yes. So yeah, if the federal government is going to force you to be a real gender, then you have to have your own feelings, I guess. I guess there's really, like, no way around that, right? Like, it's just the way it is at some point, like, now you have to have your own feelings. Ha ha. I don't know. I personally don't actually recommend it, but it happens. It is hot in this office. I did not notice it. Temperature went up 2 degrees since I've been streaming, or maybe a little bit before. I didn't pay that close attention, but my goodness, it's warm in here. Um, like really warm, much warmer than normal. The problem with South Carolina around this time of year is temperature changes very rapidly sometimes, and for some reason, no one knows how to make a thermostat that works. So you have to manually switch the thermostat from heating to cooling if that is appropriate. You can't just set a temperature range and have it do the right thing because heaven forfend something that simple be actually implemented in the real world by human beings. Right. Um, I will not attempt to redeem this. The engineers that are designing thermostats are stupid and they should all be fired. And we should hire new ones who aren't stupid. Because why can't I just set a temperature range for my house and then maybe 2 time periods and be done with it? That's my question. That's my question. John, if Obama can rename a mountain, Trump can rename a body of water, right? Yeah, I think this is the greatest idea ever. I mean, it's definitely the Gulf of America. It's just people misapplying standards. Well, it's people without principles. That's everybody on the left by definition. If you're on the left, you don't have principles, right? You think you do, but actually you won't draw the line. Um, applying them and being upset when they're not applied consistently and reliably. It's like virtues and values are not applications of consistency and reliability. They're applications of goodness, trueness, and beauty. People get confused. People get very confused. Ixnat, Gulf of America for the win. That's correct. Young God. India can change names. Yeah. I mean maps, yeah. Turkey can change names. I mean, let's have fun. Everybody changes names all the time. Africa changes country names like every few months. I mean, that's a wacky continent. They're constantly redrawing that map for reasons which make no sense to me. They may be perfectly good reasons. I just don't know what they are. There's no period where we haven't redrawn maps and renamed things. I live in Elgin, which is formerly named Blaney, and the thing that is closest to me is actually Pontiac, which is a dead town. Like this is not uncommon. Young God, it's still Zaire to me. Yeah, I used to get National Geographic, and because I love the maps, and I still have a bunch of them, I think. And yeah, you would be surprised. The new maps would come out, with different names on some of them, and I'm like, what is happening here? Sally Joe, liberate Greenland sounds fun. Well, that's more of a closer to reality every day. Um, woo, yeah. Dawn, I miss the maps Craig Ferguson used to put up on his show. Always included Narnia. Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know. That's funny. John, did you like my video? I mean, I know you commented, but I just figured comment here too. Sally Joe, Alberta's Northwest Texas. Yes. Alberta is Northwest Texas. Sure. I don't I don't think so, Sally. I don't think so. I don't think we want any parts of Canada anywhere near us. My ancestors left Canada for a reason. I just want to know why they left France. I mean, the Parisians must have been horrific. Imagine deliberately leaving the south of France to go live in the almost unlivable Canada. Yon God. Greenland sounds very doable since it has all those US military bases on it, so it'd probably help with the paperwork. I'm sure the paperwork correlates directly to the number of military bases. I've read that thesis online. Sounds like a Curtis Yarvin thing. Like that's something that Moldbug would say for sure. That's about his level of flat world logic. Such a muppet. Done. Museum video was good. Okay. Museums make me tired. Yeah. Me too. Me too. Me too. I actually tend to go quickly through most museums because I can. So I just have a high field of attention and a high scan rate. And especially for paintings, I can just call them up most times. So I don't stand in front of them and get every detail. I can get it later. So yeah, I don't understand people that sit for 20 minutes staring at something. I'm like, why? You can do that in your head, can't you? And I'm like, oh, they probably can. I could do that. Sucks to be them, I guess. Good. I'm glad you liked it. I know you wanted the exposition on that because I just kind of threw that in a live stream randomly. It's like zero apologies. Like, yeah, museums are evil, and moving right along. But yeah, I tried to be as balanced as I could because they're not pure evil, we'll say. Sally Joe, we already counted the snowflakes on Greenland, so we own it now. Oh, I didn't know that's how that works. See, that's another mold bug theory right there. Political theory about how the world works. The on God clandestine fortification in a museum is always a fun time. I don't know about fornication in a museum. I don't want to know about that. Thanks for ruining my life. Dawn. Maybe they're waiting for a 3D image to appear. Yeah. More likely they're, Isabella Stewart Gardner was different. So people used to go to the Isabella Stewart Gardner and they'd just be hanging out on the first floor looking at the gardens that are in the building because it's got a giant skylight in the middle. And they'd be drawing or maybe on the second or third floor. Sometimes people be out on the balconies and they'd be drawing the flowers down below. They'd be sitting there with a sketch pad. It was always amazing. And Wednesdays used to be free at the museum. So you could just walk in on Wednesday for free. So yeah, I went there a lot. It was great. Yeah, I was there before the paintings were stolen. So I really miss Storm on the Sea of Galilee. I thought that was a great painting, but oh well. RJ, the Craig Ferguson fans, Iceland is in the North Atlantic. I'm not a Craig Ferguson fan, that's for sure. You guys watch a lot of weird TV. I have a lot of problems with people who used to watch a lot of TV, watch a lot of movies, play a lot of video games because they'd always be like skeptical. I remember once I was at a place called MFS, Mass Financial Services. They're still there. I was actually in their building not too long ago for a conference. I mean, it's their building, but I don't know if they own it or whatever. It's in the Proof Center. It was a newish building, but um, I was there in a legal office. It wasn't their offices, but it was funny because I had worked there. I'm like, I know MFS. I didn't know they were still in business. Um, somebody there, it's a bank, right? So garbage. Banks are terrible places. Everyone's a narcissist. They're all assistant vice presidents and vice presidents. They make no money, but they're all assistant vice presidents and vice. That's the trick of working in a financial institution. They give you title and no salary. It's very funny. Although they have good benefits generally, right? They do treat their people pretty well generally. But so I'm there, and somebody had an article from some fancy freaking magazine I never heard of or whatever, and they were like, "Oh, it's an article on the 3 best, pieces of music by Beethoven," and I went, "Oh, yeah, it's probably wrong." And everyone stared at me like, "What?" Because I was the guy, like, I was the tech guy, like, I mean, they were all techies, but, like, I was the guy. If anything was wrong, that they couldn't figure out. I was the guy they went to. I was a contractor too, I was just like, I knew my stuff. I still know my stuff. Uh, so they were like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "Well, the 3 best, uh, uh, symphonies by Beethoven are the 5th, the 6th, and the ninth. But I bet that's not what it says. I bet it says the 3rd, the 6th, and the ninth." And they're like, "What?" So they read the article, and it says exactly what I said. And they're just staring at me like, "How can you know that?" And I'm just staring at them like, "How do you not know that?" And, like, my boss, who was young, he's younger than I was, only by a couple of years, but still, he was I mean, I wasn't that old. Um, he was a black belt in some martial art or other, I don't remember which one. Very good. And some of the guys knew that I knew martial arts, and they were like, "Oh, you gotta call him out." And then he and I just had a wonderful conversation about martial arts. They were pissed. That place was full of narcissists, man. That was the place where a few programmers there was one place where every once in a while we had to cover help desk for somebody, which I didn't. We didn't do standard help desk. We did ticket help desk where somebody put in a ticket, go out to their desk, fix their technical problem, and then, you know, whatever, you had to close so many tickets. But there were like help desk people just sat there on the phone and like answered calls and questions. We did a little bit of that, but that wasn't our job. There was this one group where that was your job. And every once in a while we have to fill in for them. And they made me do it for whatever reason. I'm like, I'm a contractor. What are you doing? This isn't even my strong point. You want me out on the field. I'm good with people. I'm good with fixing problems. And, that was my specialty. And these software engineers, they were Visual Basic programmers. They're terrible. I know 8 programming languages. These retards, Visual Basic are, macking on me for being a help desk guy. They were, "Oh yeah, we play Quake," and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's cool. I play Quake," and they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I bet we beat you," and I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah. You guys are probably better than I am. I'm mostly Quake World 244. And they didn't know what that was, which was even funnier. And they're like, "Yeah, we could kick your ass. Oh, hey, you guys want to come on my server and play?" And they didn't get it. Like they missed it. No, no, it's my server in my basement. And so they came and I wiped the floor with all of them, and they only played the once. I destroyed them. I utterly annihilated them. It was sad. I was like, okay, you think I'm like some help desk bro who doesn't know anything? That's fine. I just wiped them out at their favorite game. They all look like fools. Oh well. That was a fun place. I actually miss working there. I wrote a procedure I found out years later that was in use at the bank for 15 years. RJ, I know Craig Ferguson had a late night show. I just didn't watch it, dude. I know who Craig Ferguson is. I don't hate. I'm just like, you guys are wasting your lives. You've been cutting down trees, fixing cars, learning 8 programming languages, learning to sail. Instead, you're playing video games. You're freaking watching movies and TV shows and freaking late night of all the things. Whatever. Do what you want. RJ, it was better than Jon Stewart, is all I'm saying. Well, that so is a poke in the eye with a sharp stick, though. Come on, Jon Stewart's retarded. Um, Young God, Elon Musk is also a pro gamer. Yeah, but gaming is evil, and don't do it. I don't know what's hard about that. Elon Musk also thinks H-1B visas are a good thing, right? Because he's found a way to make them work for him, but they're not. See my videos. Oh, I should look at my personal channel's video because is that H-1B visa video going to get 2,000 views and really make me angry at the world? Let's find out. We were at 1,972 last I checked, and we are now at 1,973. Well, it will eventually. The one on navigating patterns did not do quite so well, I'm afraid. But I had to release it late. I had to switch editors. So yeah, it's not being enchanted with video games is evil. Yeah. Just having them around is evil because then people think the world works that way. And then they either get conspiratorial or they get so flat world that they can't communicate with you anymore. Um, video games do a lot to compress time for people. And so I recently made a tweet on Brett Weinstein's uh, tweet thread where I basically said, I, y- you know, Congress created big pharma. It's their fault that big pharma is buying them, which is true. By the way, I can prove it, but whatever. And some punk kid who's, he's young. He's a gamer. He's a young gamer. Uh, Piped up and got into it with me, and I kept trying to explain to him, I didn't say anything good about pharma. I just said Congress created that monster, and it's their fault that the monster has now trapped them, right? And he could not understand the issue, and so he kept over and over again, and I was just like, finally said, like, "You're missing what I'm saying. You're not listening, right?" And finally I said, "You need help. Good luck." And then he attacked me, of course, and said, "Oh, I know you from the Discord, and you're mean." And I was like, and I feel bad because like all I can do is laugh at him because he's a clown. And he doesn't think he's a clown. He's very angry and self-righteous and "Rah." It took me 2.5 hours one night to explain to him and his friend who never got it. I think that's how it worked. That you the thing that you simulate can never be bigger than the simulator it's running in. They had a real hard time with that concept somehow. And I mean, this is the world we're living in where people don't understand constraints at all. They don't understand reality. And they won't believe it when it's presented to them. Like, all the logic, reason, rationality in the world won't convince them because it's not how we work. It's so ironic and funny. It's tells you video games delude you and destroy what you could have been, robbing your future. Yeah. Well, they destroy all the things you could learn, like learning how to cut down trees and burn stuff without burning down your pole shed. Not that I know anybody who might have done that. Had he not been an excellent steward of fire. Um, Yeah, and fix cars and sailboats and do all the cool things that I do. On God, video games are necessary. No, they're not. Most of reality, we never had them, and are part of the grand plan. Whose grand plan is that, sir? Not sure why they dislike them because they're evil. I actually know why, but it's fun pretending I don't. Why are you like this, Sally? And subsequently, everyone else around their future too. Yeah, well, that's true. Video games pull everybody around you down. Video games are creating hell on earth in people's lives. Sally Joe, straight from hell. Okay, Sally. So let me get this right. You're a no on video games? Is that what you're saying, Sally? Yeah, it's when you're between certain ages, certain types of video games, not a problem. But after that, I don't know. Different types of games, immersion games, no good. My cousin, who for some reason doesn't talk to me anymore, but whatever, his loss, um, had the headset and he like, "Oh, you gotta put this on." He had the whole thing tuned. He's a crazy person with this stuff. And I was like, "Man, I could definitely stay here all day." He was like, "You had that on for 40 minutes." And I'm like, "What? Yeah?" And he's like, "Most people can only go like 5 minutes before they get dizzy and fall over." And I'm like, "I'm not most people. I don't why would you think with my experience with computers and 3D systems because it was the first modern three-dimensional headset thing I had put on, but like I got to tell you, seeing a molecule open up on a screen in 3D, oh, so cool. Old SGI systems, $50,000 workstations with glasses and the whole 9 yards. The older tech with the shutters was way cooler. Just saying. And the new stuff is kind of meh. Young God, Sally had too much fun on Newgrounds back in the day. Make Flash great again. Haha. No, Sally's problem has nothing to do with Sally. Uh, Video games require a lot of slavery. A lot. Um, oh, what's the name of that movie? Grandma's Boy? Yeah, I think it's called Grandma's Boy. What a riot. About a video game Q&A guy. This is a great film. It's so stupid. I love it so much. I have no idea why. I absolutely love it. Um, yeah, he just so dumb and so accurate. So stupid. Such a fun movie though. Oh man. Oh God, those daily quests can't run themselves. Yeah, I know. They can't. They require a lot of resources. Someone's got to go into the data center and swap the hardware and make no money doing it, right? Somebody's got to go and maintain the network and rebalance the traffic and make no money doing it, right? And then someone's got to code the stupid thing poorly, and then maybe they make okay money. But man, the gaming industry, they drive you like slaves. Also very lucrative right now. A lot of the movie uh, studios are copying the gaming industry. And of course, it's not working out. It's one of the reasons why we have terrible movies. John got, oh, it's referring to the user experience client side. Yeah, yeah, but you can't do that without the slaves in the back end, dude. That's my point. It's like everybody cuts up the world and thinks that's the world. It's not the world. The front end doesn't exist without the back end. Like, it can't can't do it by yourself. It's not your experience. You're dragging a bunch of other people into your gaming, whether you intend to or not. I knew some kids, they used to make their own wooden pinball machines. No, they use springs and rubber bands and stuff, but no like motors or electronic parts. It was pretty fun. They built some neat stuff, all out of wood. They'd carve the wood and cut it themselves. That's pretty neat. And that's part of the problem, right? Because now we have AI, which is a sophisticated automation machine, and very little more, by the way. And so a lot of the coding that isn't real software engineering can now be done by AI. And the software engineers, who were never software engineers, by the way, um, are panicking. And it's like, well, you weren't doing real work, and so your work can be replaced. If your work can be replaced, you weren't doing real work. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm very sad. Somebody fooled you into thinking that you were intelligent, but actually, an AI can do your job, so you weren't that intelligent. Sorry. Every time I ask the AI to do something, it can't handle it. It's so funny. It just cracks me up. I'm like, you can't even implement my ideas. You're so bad at this AI. Good job. Good job. Other stuff, man, this is a year and a half ago, one of the early, I don't think it was ChatGPT, but it might have been. I was like, ah, I don't want to write this script to rip off all this stuff out of YouTube. So I had the AI do it. Bang, it worked the first time. I'm like, hey, this is pretty cool. I like this. It wasn't even that much code. But it was quicker than me looking up the APIs, which turns out is impossible because no one documents anything anymore in the computer industry. Um, so yeah, having AI do it was actually quite a bit quicker. It's like, all right, did it in half the time, not bad, and it did it perfectly. So I was like, I had to tweak it, but whatever. Once all the core code's there, if all you have to do is like change a few hard coded variables or whatever, whatever. But man, if your stuff can be done by AI, you suck. You suck. Just the way it is. So then you go out and you redeem the OnlyFans hookers. It's like, could you not? I don't know. I don't know. And that's people do this with AI all the time. Like AI is coming. There's nothing you can do. You might as well be nice to it or something. It's like, no. Great research tool. Now that search has been broken for 5, 6 years, so having AI for search is fantastic. But that doesn't mean we need to redeem it. It's still fundamentally going to fool people and cause a bunch of havoc, right? Like the cost. No one ever looks at the cost, right? They always look at the upside. You should be suspicious when people give you upside with no cost. What is it costing me? Tell me what it's costing me, right? What's the video game costing me? Ixnay, when you play video games, you are being puppeted by the game. That is correct. The question is why you enjoy being puppeted. One, sometimes you need to relax or whatever, but like play Pac-Man. or Galaxian, not Galaga. Galaga's terrible. Um, or Donkey Kong. Don't play these modern garbage crap games. On God, I still use Google for search because I support the CIA. I don't know why people believe that stuff. It's like, look, you do understand that in order to index search with people's information, you would have more information than the internet contains, and nobody does that. And it grows at an exponential rate. Actually, I worked at a company once where just for a short time they fired everybody rather mysteriously. It was weird. Um, but they were trying to index file systems, like whole file systems of large. They were a storage vendor, right? So they sold multi terabytes of storage back in the day. And so, they'd sell a 40 terabyte array or something stupid, or 120 terabytes. And this was, years and years and years ago. And so they the part of their project was to get the data into an indexed system and track all the changes. And I was looking at my buddy, who's a big data guy like I was, and I was like, "Isn't that 4 times the amount of data that you're actually storing?" And he's like, "Yeah." Like, "Okay. I thought I got my computing 101 wrong, but I didn't." I'm like, "At a certain point, doesn't that not make sense anymore? Because you're using way more data than you need to." But yeah, I mean, this is they're tapping all the phones. Well, you can't tap all the phones. It's not possible. You would need a system larger than the system we already have, which you don't have because you only have a system the size of the system that you have. I don't. Why is this hard? But it's very hard for people, right? What you can do is monitor and selectively pick, um, but you can't monitor everything, so it doesn't matter. I mean, it's funny, people believe all this. I'm like, look at all the criminals getting away with crime all the time, and you think the CIA is monitoring everything, or the FBI, or both? They're not even monitoring 1% of what goes on. And again, they're doing the same thing, right? Like, well, of course nobody would do that because it's like, but they did do it, and you just don't want to believe it. Yeah, it's so funny. The cost of monitoring things is so high. You've no idea. You think you can do it automated, you actually can't. And when you do, it's super expensive. Sally Joe, the data on the data's data is where they will really cut the fat, right? Obviously, yeah. When they have the metadata of the metadata's metadata, and that's what it's called too. It's called metadata. It just cracks me up. I'm like, okay, guys, call it metadata. Good idea. Beyond God, metadata is a muppet because data isn't meta. Okay, I agree. Data is not outside itself. It's the definition of meta. Speaking of meta and definitions, I did notice that my buddy Dr. Lantern Jack released a YouTube video like an hour, less than an hour before I came on. And I was like, oh no, I don't have time to watch this. So I'm super excited. I'm glad he's back doing stuff. I know he just lost both his parents recently. This has been a rough time for him, but looks like his channel's back. Ancient Greece Declassified.com is his website. If you search for Dr. Lantern Jack, you'll find his YouTube channel. He did a couple talks to John Vervaeke, which are very, very good, by the way. He's a cool dude. I really like him. I met him in Clubhouse a few years ago. Great guy. If I ever get out to the Northwest there, I'm gonna go say hi to him in person. So I had plans to be out there now, but those all get crushed. But I told him, he's like, "Oh yeah, when you come out, just come and see me." I'm like, "All right, man, I'm there." But I'm not getting out there uh, this January or February like I thought originally. Um, I am gonna go to I don't know if we're gonna go to Vegas for a day and then Arizona. We might go to Vegas for a night or 2 and then Arizona. But I am gonna do that, I think in March. Uh, and I do have to go down to Florida. I might have to go up to Chapel Hill for the day too, but I gotta work all that out. This cold has really kicked my ass, and I've been working on some stuff, and I'm behind on the book, and I made a little bit of progress, but not enough. And then I got really sick, and going to Reno really, I don't think planes are bad. You got to careful with planes. The key is you got to keep hydrated. It's really hard to keep hydrated on a plane because the air is super dry, super low, and that just makes you prone to infections. And I mean, it wasn't that bad because mostly I just lost my voice. But if I did anything physical, I got worn out real quick. But you know, it happens. It happens. Adam Dylan Major, or perhaps it can't be more meta than it already is. Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. See my video. Young God. Everything that happens on navigating patterns is beyond navigational patterning. Whatever, dude. Why do you find it useful to talk like this? It's good. What are you hoping to accomplish other than confusing yourselves and others? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just watching people talk about stuff. I'm just like, what is like everyone's living in their head. Everyone's living in a fantasy world. They're all trying to perfect other people that aren't them, and they have such problems. Like, did you get enough work for yourself? Why don't you start there? And it's just so endemic. I mean, it's absolutely everywhere. And I don't know. It drives me nuts. It drives me absolutely nuts. Does nobody want to join me? Is that the problem? I have no takers. Nobody loves me. No one ever watches on Renders United when I'm live. After I'm live, they do, but not when I'm live. I have noticed that. Young God, we are too dumb. I don't know why that would be a requirement for coming up and talking, but that's okay. All right. Well, I have other things that I can do if y'all are going to be boring. So I'll go do them. I'm going to shut this one down. I'm going to figure out what we're doing for next week. If you got any suggestions, let me know. If you don't have any suggestions, then I will come up with some. I mean, I have a list of things. This one actually jumped the line because I've got a list of other topics. But this just became really salient this week and then got more salient as the week went on after I picked it somehow. I really don't know how that happens. But it's fun. So look, the key, the real key is to uh, stop redeeming things. Stop trying to find a way to perfect things and make things better than they seem. Because most things are exactly what they seem, right? And you don't have to pass judgment. You can just say, wow, that looks really bad, or wow, that looks really deliberate, or wow, that behavior, if I'm reading it correctly, is bad. Nothing wrong with a little humility, right? If I'm reading it, if what I understand is correct, right? Um, because ultimately what it's really about is not you trying to fix other things, right? It's you being better because the world needs you to be better. And that's more along the Jordan Peterson clean your room, which is correct. And that's what people should be focused on, not these other things, right? Sally Joe, title is too spicy. Yeah, well, apparently it was. I thought today too. I was like, damn, I should have gone full troll on the title instead. I might switch to more trolly titles because I go back and forth, but It's always hard to know what attracts people too, because the internet changes practically every week now. So yeah. So look, everybody have a good week. I'll get this going again next week. I don't have anything next week. I should be around, barring any major illnesses, which, at this rate, who knows? I will see you next week. Have fun, behave, and take care of yourselves. Don't redeem others. Just fix yourself.